question first.
Yeah.
So I got rid of all the photos that I had that were already online because some of them were big for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to resize them.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like resized images, but how do I get them to be like up and on the site again? Do I have to put it into the folder that was created?
No, what you want to do in that case, if you have new ones, there are two ways. Probably the best way to update your images is actually to delete the old ones and then just re-upload them through the same interface.
So I have to post them through the admin.
You could, if you wanted to, just like name them the exact same as the other ones, and then just re-upload them into the correct folders. But that can get tricky, just because they're after you've been doing this for a few months or years, there are a ton of different folders because it organizes it by, year, by date. So you can do that. It can be a little painstaking, and if you make a mistake, it can be hard to track it down. The other way to do it is in WP admin. Under media, I can see all the images that I uploaded, and if I wanted to change one, I believe I have the option to replace it.
Oh, okay. Or I already deleted that one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you can actually just replace it. I would just re-upload it.
Maybe you can edit the URL.
And then,
no, you can't. Mm-mm.
So I guess when I re-upload, I'm just curious because we have that code with the instead of the gallery, we have that code that you can line up like that. So that's still there.
Mm-hmm.
So
it'll just automatically do it as long as you've uploaded it to the post.
Okay.
Now, real quick, I'll show you this media. This is useful because it'll show you all the images or it could be PDFs or whatever you have uploaded that you've uploaded through the WordPress interface. And so it shows you like a thumbnail, or it'll show you like a little, file icon, who uploaded it, probably you, and then what post it's attached to. So you can see that this is attached to my drawings. And that means that it shows up in my gallery when I go to that post. And from here you can do things like you can bulk delete and whatnot. Or you can actually, if I wanted to, I'd say, made a mistake. I think I can unattach it. Not exactly sure. But anyway, this is the place where you can just see where all your images are. And if you've uploaded through the media library, you might have some images that are unattached. In which case you can then attach them to new files or your new posts. But I just recommend going through the upload in as we've been doing it in the add image lightbox. Mm-hmm. You don't know where to find them?
Well, I don't know if I delete them, whether it fix something or
I guess I'm not quite sure. Could you clarify the question just a little bit?
Just wondering how you deal with
You have a lot of repeats.
Yeah.
That's how if I had a lot of repeats, I would then go into the media page, and then I would just find the repeats because they're probably normally right next to each other in the list, and then I would just select the ones that I want to delete, and
Yeah, but because they're the same, you don't know which one's attached to which one's.
you can see what they're attached to just on the third column. Yeah, and all the unattached ones that are will pop up right here. You can click on unattached. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is probably the reason why you're all here. I mean, making a website is, for your own purposes, is cool to have it on your computer and running, but if you don't show it to anybody, if you don't put it online and have potential employers or family members or whoever, be able to see it, it's not really. It kind of defeats the purpose. So I'm gonna go through briefly how you would do it, and then I'm gonna use my host DreamHost to do it. I haven't yet. I need to encode them so they're not like 5 megabyte or 5 gigabytes. But I'll do that today. So what I did, I'm opening up this program. It's an FTP client. This one is called CyberDuck. It's actually available for Mac. It started out on the Mac, and they recently opened it up for beta on the PC. I haven't tried the PC version, but I would recommend giving it a shot because it's a really good free client. It's called CyberDuck. The other ones, the other FTP clients that are available for the PC, I've used, and they're kind of difficult to use. And the CyberDuck is extremely kind of intuitive. It's basically just like your standard Finder or Explorer window. I have a set of bookmarks. These are all different websites that I have access to, and this is mine. So when I click on this bookmark, I've entered in all the correct information, my server information, my username and password, and which is all stored in that bookmark. And then it opens up just this file view, and these are all the domains and subdomains that I manage, and so I have everything from a blog that I made for my grandpa to use to like my own blogs and portfolio and whatnot. So anyway, if you go through here, you can see, it's a very familiar file layout with folders and files inside. Let's see, what have we got here? Clients. So I in this folder I have 3 different blogs, actually 2 different WordPress blogs loaded in here. So let me show you how, if I was going to make a brand new WordPress site, how I would go about doing that.
Just to interrupt, when you registered for DreamHost, it gives you FTP? So can you use that one that DreamHost gives you?
Yes.
What's the difference between using that? Versus
on their.
Yeah,
on their.
I registered for a hosting.
You can. It's not. They usually have file upload limits. So if you're uploading past a certain amount, it becomes impossible. But if it meets the requirements, it should be okay. I find it easier to not have to go to the dashboard and just open up the program, and then I have access to multiple sites at once. That's the reason why. So I'm going to go to my DreamHost. This is not me.
Does your server refer to your... Because DreamHost is doing both your hosting and your domain.
Yes.
Does the server refer to your host or your domain? Because you have them that are separate.
It would refer to my host, whoever I have my host with, or whoever I'm hosting with. So whoever has my disk space. So here in the control panel, I mentioned this before, and it's got a lot of different menu items over here. It has some one-click features, and it gives me a listing of all the domains that I own and the subdomains. But what I'm going to do is pretty easy. I just want to go to one of these one-click installs. DreamHost supports maybe about a dozen the last time I checked, different softwares that they'll just install. This looks brand new, but so this is all I think free software. that's available on the internet, just like WordPress is free. This one is what Wikipedia is running on. There are different, educational programs. These are different CMS systems, and it can be good just to make a new. If you're curious about these, just to either go to the website or maybe just install it and start dinkering around with it. And if you don't need it, then just delete it. But anyway, what we want are we just want to install WordPress. I'm going to click WordPress. And we have the choice between doing a simple installation or a custom installation. And I think the only difference, and this interface has changed a bit since I last did this, but the only difference is the simple installation. Whenever an update comes along to WordPress, which happens maybe about every 3 to 6 months, DreamHost will automatically update all the software for you. You don't really have to worry about your website being old or maybe vulnerable to hackers, which is unlikely anyway, but they just take care of all the housework for you. The drawback is that I don't think they allow you to install custom themes, but you can select from any of the ones that they've installed for you and possibly the ones that you can download from WordPress.org. Basically, it makes it so you have a blog that you can't break. For our use, we're going to use the custom installation because we want to do the custom themes. So I'm just going to click on it. See what happens. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so there. Alright, so I get this. Ask me where I want to put it. And I'm going to... Where's Joseph Bergen? For some reason I can't see Joseph Bergen. Does anyone see it? Down? Hotter, colder? No? Alright, well, I'll put it on why can't I see it? Am I just totally missing it?
You want portfolio, Joseph Bergen?
No, just josephbergen.com. www.josephbergen.com. Alright, well, whatever. Neutral surface /jterm. So when I navigate to www.neutralsurface.com /jterm, this is where I want my blog to appear. I have some options to use an old database or to that already exists on the web.
Does it have to have JTerm in it because
It doesn't.
okay.
It could be anything. And it doesn't have to align with what you have before. So I just want it to automatically create a database, a MySQL database, and I want it to be fresh. It's usually best if it's fresh because if you're upgrading from an older system or whatever, there are just a lot of problems that might arise, and you just want to avoid just by making a new database. So I'm just going to click install it for me now. It gives me this little confirmation. It just says it's on its way, and it'll alert me in about 10 minutes when it's done. So we're going to move on for a little while, and we'll come back and we'll check my email, and then we'll finish up the setup for WordPress.
So I have hosting on my GoDaddy
Mhm.
already. So am I doing the same thing on there?
GoDaddy has a similar service that automatically will upload or make a WordPress site. I don't know the specifics of how it works, but it should work very similar to this. And usually those things are pretty well documented. I would be surprised if it wasn't, because they want to make it as easy as possible for people to do that, which is in their best interest. Okay. So moving on, while that installs, let's go back to our website. Last night I made a quick change to the functions file, which I emailed to all of you. If you haven't already, I would go ahead and replace your old functions file in the theme that you're currently using in your if you're using ultralightweight in the theme folder. So just replace functions PHP. It was literally just changing one word, and that's all it took to make it work. I'm going to go over that functionality that I added. So if you remember from yesterday, I made this new post, my drawings, and I uploaded 4 photos to it. And so now that I've got these 4 photos loaded in the gallery, when I go to add an image in the gallery, once you start moving these images around, you see that you get these numbers, and this is the order. So if you want to show them in a certain order, and you probably do in your portfolio, you just make sure that you see the thumbnail and you move it in the correct order. So the foot is first, and right now this really light drawing of the guy standing is last. I'm going to save those changes, go back out here, I'm going to refresh. And so there my order has changed, so I've got the foot, the guy at the end, and I know that that's working. Now remember I was really displeased with the way that this one image came out because it's too light. I don't want to show it to anybody yet. Maybe it's just a bad scan and it's a placeholder for later. So I'm just going to change the order to anything above 99 or 99 or above. So add that and then hit Save Changes to my gallery. Go back out, refresh, and the image with the order above 99 is gone. I can do that to as many as I want. Refresh, and there we go. So in this way you can have many more images saved and only show the ones that you want to show.
Can you reorder the posts?
These posts?
Yeah.
These posts are meant to be will always show in chronological order with the newest one on top. The way that I've worked my portfolio, and other people like to order it by type, category, or by some other way. My strategy has been I wanted to show my work more or less in chronological order. So the way I handle that is when I create the post, automatically it sets the date, my publish date, to the day that I hit the publish button. But I don't really care about specifically when it was published. So in this publish box in your dashboard, when you're editing a post, I just go to published on and I hit the edit button. And instead of being January 13th, I actually did these in March. I don't really worry about the specific month, and then 2010. And when I update the post, my drawings should sync to the bottom because is the oldest. So I've changed the order at which they go. So the way in my portfolio.
Is there a way to do it with the categories that WordPress gives you?
So what you would do is, I have a similar thing. So this is a list of every single post on every single portfolio post that I have on my website, and it reads from left to right, top to bottom. So this one is my newest entry. This one's my oldest. But I have all these other categories too. So my architecture, if I just want to see architecture, this is just a list of my categories. When I click on this, then it will filter it down to just my posts tagged with the architecture category, and these are also in chronological order. So let's see, what does the URL look like? It's going slow. So does that I mean, there are different ways to do it. Another strategy would be actually not to use the posts at all necessarily, but to instead use pages. Now I showed you the pages here. I have mine used for an about page and a contact page, and this is kind of the standard way to use pages, and it's kind of how they were built to be used. But it's also easy to say, say I want to make a new page called I want a category called architecture. Oh, I'm going to publish that. I go back to my pages here. Now I'm going to, I see my architecture pages here. If I reload here, it will show up in this list. Now, if I want to add a new project to that architecture, I can say, my latest studio, this is what I did. Class, and then under this page attributes, I just select my parent as architecture. I can change the order here. It defaults to 0. They really don't have a good graphical way to change that, but so you have to do it number by number. And then hit publish. I'm going to do one more. My old studio. I'm going to change also the parent to architecture. I could also make it a sub page of my latest studio, but I don't need to. And change the order. Hit publish. Now when I go back out here, I go to JTerm. I see that architecture here. Now I haven't told it. It's showing every item on my it's showing every page, and I can limit it to just showing the top parent. But that's another way to edit it. Let me actually change that just to show you how it works. You don't have to do this. Give me sidebar. So in my sidebar, I have this PHP function, WP list pages, which is one that's provided to us by WordPress, and it takes a certain number of things like what is the default title, how do you want to sort it, and I'm saying sort it by menu order, and then I'm going to say and also depth equals 1. I think that's the syntax. Now when I refresh, now I only see the architecture page, and the subchildren are hidden. And if I wanted to, I could write a little chunk of code that would then, when I clicked on this, it would show me the subpages. But I haven't built that into this theme. Okay.
Within that page, how did you get some of the drawings? Say you want to put some of the drawings that were on the main page into the...
I think it would be the same way. So I'm going to go into my architecture page and edit it. I'm just going to upload one image to test it. I don't want to pick something incriminating. I had an image folder. There we go. Okay, so I've uploaded one image. I haven't uploaded it. I haven't loaded it to the visual editor. I'm going to save the changes. That's not actually going to show because I haven't added that chunk of code to my page. But I'm just, like I did before, this code that I wrote yesterday. Just going to grab this div and add it to my page. So this is the file that controls how the page is displayed. And I'm going to add it to the same place right above the entry content. Just pasted that in, saved it, refresh, and then it shows almost exactly like the post would.
You have to reload it. You can't like make it automatically kind of take like sort it by what you tagged and then put them in everything.
I guess I'm missing your question.
So like, for example, in the architecture page, if on your main JTerm page, you want to put some of the drawings within architecture.
Oh,
In that link, you know what I mean?
over here?
Yeah, like if you wanted to have that also in your architecture page, you have to do it manually.
You would have to do it manually, and also I think that's one of the limitations of the page over the post, is that you can't really, it's much more difficult, and I don't even know if it's possible to iterate through pages as it is the posts. So that's an advantage that WordPress has with working with posts.
So is there a way to have like main page with links that link to posts, or
The link to posts?
Yeah.
Like
having a few icons that each one of them is like a link to a post, so that way
so instead of having like this,
you would have like an image that is
just an image, and you don't have the caption, you don't have this text, and you don't
Yeah.
have this and this. Well, that's really easy, and we basically have it here. I'm just going to change something. So my index, all I'm going to do is I know that I don't need if that's the case, I don't need or want the title. I'm just going to delete this h2 tag, which has inside of it the title. Get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of the content. I'm going to get rid of the category. And what else don't I want? Don't want that div. Image gallery is fine. And I want it to link to the post instead. So I just need to change this the link, this link, to something else. And that would be the permalink. And I have to take out this light box, because it's not going to be a light box if I'm not going to the image. So if I save that, see if that works. So I got the images, but I got a funny... Which source do I do? Let me go over real quick. So I showed you how to make these strings with the periods to join things, and it's turned out to be really confusing for a lot of people, and I understand that because it's confusing for me a lot of times. It's difficult to spot problems. So what we can do instead of doing that is I'm just going to add more lines. I'm just going to add echo. I know that I want this first chunk to be href, and the second chunk I want to be the name, or the URL that I want. Oops. And that should work just the same as the other one. Instead of saying, okay, join all these things together, I'm just saying print this out, then print this out, then print this out. And the HTML should read the same. Let me just make sure I didn't break anything. There we go. I actually fixed it. So now instead of showing the text link to the page, I have just an image. When I click on the image, then it takes me to the post in question. This one, you would have to write a quick condition that says only show one image, otherwise you'll have multiples. But That's easy to do also. Let's see if that works. So there I just added one line. I said, I know I have this loop, right, which is supposed to be looping through every single image that I have loaded into the post. But I only want it done once, since the thumbnail is only good if you have one thumbnail per image. So at the end of the loop, I'm just saying, okay, you're done. Once you're done doing all of these things, then exit the loop. Regardless of whether or not there are more images to go through, it just says, okay, stop. And when I do that, then I only get one image per page. But when I click on this one, which has multiples, since my code is the same, I don't have the same break on in my single .php. I haven't changed this code yet. Then I still see the two images there.
This one has a light box,
And this one will still have the lightbox, correct?
Because mine eliminates the multiple image.
In your single?
I just added break to index.
Yeah, it gets rid of the multiple images.
But when I click on my light box, then it's just one image still. So.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct, because it's not making. It doesn't know it's there because it's not writing to it.
So is there a way to keep the light box but just have one image?
I was thinking about that last night, and I think that what you could do. And I know you were talking about that. Did you find a way?
No.
No. Okay. Let me show you how I would go about doing that.
Mine has one of them that does that and one of them that doesn't.
One of them does what?
Shows one image on the page and has multiple images in the light box.
Okay.
Oh wait,
Huh.
no.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work.
Oh, if you click on the link, then it shows you all the pictures.
Oh, okay.
If
Yeah.
You put, like if you put an image into the post and then have that be something that you click to get into the gallery.
No. Can you say that again?
Oh, it's okay.
Okay. So let me show you what I would do. I'm actually going to take out that little piece of code, that break, in my index. So say I just want the lightbox to come up, and that's going to be my post essentially. So if I save that, I'm going to go back, and there's my drawings. I'm going to move this up to the top so it's easier to see. Okay, so there we go. I've got these two. They link to my page, but I'm actually going to not even go to my page anymore. I'm going to change this to post.guid. So this should re-enable the lightbox. No. Oh, because I need to add the rel. Okay, so I've gone ahead and re-added the lightbox code. Cross your fingers. Is that not working? figure that one out. Oh, it's image. Stupid. There we go. Okay, so I've got my lightbox back, but it's showing it's showing both images, but it's only showing one. I only want to be showing one and then be able to see two in the lightbox. So in this loop, I'm just going to have to modify this loop a little bit and say that for the first one, I want it to display it as a regular image. And then the second one, I want to be able to create a link, the same link, but I don't want it to display. I don't want to be able to see it when it renders the page. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a counter, so I'm going to add, which is a variable. So I'm, $sign, I'm just going to call this counter, and set it equal to 0. And this is outside, this is before the for loop. Then what I'm going to say is, what's the best way to do this? I'm going to separate the image tag. So is this easier to see than it was before? I think this is a little easier to understand, maybe, breaking it apart. Yeah, I think it's easier because you don't have to worry about this periods, and you can see it in much smaller chunks. So I'm just changing. I'm moving this image source into its own 3 lines. And I know that on every one after the first image, I don't want to show those. So I'm going to add a conditional statement, just an if. And that is, you write that by just saying if. And then I want to choose my counter. If my counter is greater than 1, actually greater than 0, because it'll start at 0, then print this junk. Then make the image. No, that's not right. So if counter is equal to 0, and I use this syntax equal sign, which is it compares the 2 variables. If you were to say just equals, that actually says sets counter equal to 0, and it doesn't know what it's doing because it's inside the if loop. So just double equals 0. And then at the end of that if statement, I want to say, tell the counter to iterate. So counter plus plus. And we saw this before in the loop that we made in our simple PHP, or in the myPHP document. And that just adds 1 every time it hits that code. Now I think that this might have a problem because we have a link that doesn't have anything in it. Oh, and here's another thing. I need to close this link, but this will only close if counter equals 0, 0, because this closing a tag is stuck inside this loop, inside this conditional statement. So I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to add a new echo at the end of if. Just add that tag back in. So I know I have that tag regardless of whether or not it meets the condition inside the if statement or not. I'll wait for people to catch up. What? Uh-huh. Do you want it now? Okay. Let me email this to you guys. here's my DreamHost installer, but we'll get back to that. So let me save this. Let me see what happens. So now when I refresh, I'm getting, I only see one image. I see this foot image. But when I click on it, I get the light box, and I get 2 images. Is that working for people? Shall I go back to the code, or people still? Okay. And I'll show you what the source looks like, and I think it might make a little more sense if you see the source. All right.
The
I'm good.
image that shows up on the page can be the first one in the gallery.
The way we've written this, yes. So let me just make sure that, let me change all these again. Save changes. I should get 4 images. So there we go. Does this? It doesn't. Okay. So that's let me show you the source. So if I right click on that image, which I know has 3 other images attached to it, I hit inspect element, I see that I have this link, which is this actually attached to this image, this first image. Then it has the image tag here inside the link. And then after it, I have 4 other links, but there's nothing in. They're not displaying anything. There's no text. There's no image inside, and that's because of the if statement. Because I said only do it for the first one. So then I have three other links that are in the source code, but they're not attached to anything. But the way the plugin works that we downloaded, it doesn't care about it showing objects on the browser actually rendering objects. It just cares about a rel attribute of lightbox and it being the same as all the other links. So that's how that works. Okay, let me take this a little step back to our WordPress install that I set at the start of class. So if I go to back to my Gmail and I see I have this email from WordPress, or from DreamHost, and they give me a little bit of instructions, and basically all I need to go is to this first link, and this is exactly like you set up before. I'm going to do exactly the same JTerm, username jbergen, username, password. Okay, and in this case I don't really want it to show up on Google, so just install the WordPress. So there we go. This is my dashboard. This is online, so this is at neutralsurface.com/jterm. This is the default everything, so it's got the boilerplate pages and post. It's running, and the theme. Oh, or the posts. Yeah. So there is a way to migrate your database from your computer to your new site. But you can get everything except for the images reliably. So let me show you how to do that. And this is, and it's actually better that you do it this way. I'm going to go to Firefox. Now this is the site I'm working. This is my site on localhost. It has these 3 posts, and say I want to migrate all these to my new site. I'm going to go to the dashboard and go to Tools right here, which is in the sidebar. And I want to export. So I can just export the most recent ones. I can export all these based on all these different categories, but I just want to export everything. When I do that, it gives me an XML file that has all the information that's currently contained on my blog. So all the posts, all the pages, categories, etc. are all there. So now I'm going to go to my new site and go back down to Tools, Import, and it gives me these. It can import from Blogger. If you've got blogs elsewhere, they make it pretty easy to switch. But we just want the last one, which is WordPress. It makes you download a plugin, I think. I'm just going to install the plugin, activate and run, and then I just choose the file. So I just need to navigate and find the file that I just downloaded, that XML file. So it's in my my downloads folder. And there it is. There's my WordPress file, the XML that I just created. Choose file, upload file, and import. I can try and download and import file attachments. I don't think it'll let me, but I'll select it. And it says all done. Let's go out and see. No, where did they go? Let me delete this first one. Trash. So here I have, I'm sorry? I have all my posts. Oh, looks like I do have an image here. Oh, this isn't right because you see that when I go to this image, it's still going to localhost. That's not right.
What stage does the FTP site come in? You have to put all that. You have to put all of what you created on an FTP server. That will make you confused by that.
So that was for right now was to show you how the file system works online and how it's analogous to the one actually on your computer. You'll use the FTP site to upload your theme. So I'll do that right now. So I have this website, but I just spent a week writing the code for the theme, and this isn't really going to cut it for me. If I go to Appearance and Themes, this is exactly the same as before, but I think it gives me a buttload of like pre-installed themes that are just given to me by WordPress, and I don't want to use any of them. So there, I can actually I could actually, through this interface, install a theme. I'll show you how to do that. So if I click on this Install Themes, there are these submenu items, Search, Upload, Featured, Newest. I want just Upload. So here it says install a theme in zip format. If you have a theme in zip format, you may install it by uploading it here. I could just go to find, where'd it go? Desktop. So this is my localhost folder, and then the install that I've been running. So if I wanted to upload it, I could just compress it, turn it into a zip folder, and then upload that folder, and it would appear in my managed themes list. But I want to show you how to do the FTP site. So I'm going to refresh this. I should be able to find my JTerm. Does anyone see it? What is it? Neutralsurface.com. JTerm. Neutral. So if I go to Neutral Surface, there's this JTerm folder in here. And inside this JTerm folder is my WordPress install. So if I go to Content, this should be familiar, Themes, and I see all these pre-installed themes here, which I don't really want. It would take a long time for me to delete them, so I'm not going to. And I'm going to go to Finder. And I'm just going to drag this folder in. So I'm just going to take my ultra lightweight folder and drag it into my themes folder. And make sure that you don't drop it into any other folder by accident. Otherwise you'll lose it. You can always just copy it over again. But so there it is. I'll just make sure that it's there. So this ultra lightweight is now in this list right behind 2010. If I go back to, that's all I need to do there. If I go back to my JTerm, manage themes, this is the one online. This is the live site. Then I just have to navigate through this ungodly list. So they're now, these are listed in alphabetical order, and you see that on page 8, I see my ultra lightweight theme, the one I've been working on. I just hit activate, shows it as the current theme. Now when I go back to my home page, refresh, there it is. But you can see that I haven't uploaded any image, or my images didn't carry over, so I can't see anything. So unfortunately, what you have to do is you have to go back to your posts and then re-upload your images to your live site. Which after you've been doing it, it doesn't take too long, but can be kind of a drag if you're in a hurry. So let me just upload one. Does anyone have any questions right now? Mm-hmm.
I'll ask it later.
Okay. So I've uploaded that one image. Refresh, and there we go. Oh, and here's going to be a problem actually. So I have it set up for the lightbox, but when I click on this, it just takes me to this image and it doesn't give me a lightbox, and that's because my new install of WordPress doesn't have the plugin. So I just have to go back down and find the same one that I had before. So add new, Lightbox. Activated the plugin. I'm just going to make sure that it's actually activated. Yep. Now when I refresh and then I click on this, it should show up. So this is all live. This is on the internet, and we've basically recreated all the posts and applied our custom theme, in just in a few minutes. The thing that'll take the most time is just re-uploading the images. Any questions about this part?
Is there a way?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Where's the export?
Oh, it's in Tools. So when you're in the dashboard, there's Tools right here, and then Export. What was your question?
So when you're working on a website online, is there a way to kind of restrict access to it while you're working on it?
Yeah. So we can do that with a plugin actually, and make it really easy. So in plugins, we're going to add new, and I'm going to search for I don't know, construction. No, it's going to be admin mode. Let's type in under construction. Maintenance. Any one of those would probably get you there, but I don't know, and I don't know the difference between these, but there are a lot of them. I'm just going to install the first one I see. Install the plugin. So it just says that it will let visitors know when it's down for maintenance, and as long as this plugin is activated. So I've uploaded it to the site, but I haven't activated it. So everything's working normally. As soon as I activate it, make sure that it's activated. I go back out, and actually you'll see the same thing. The reason is because I'm logged in. So if I log out of my admin, refresh, come on. So this is a really good case for reading about your plugin first, and the reason is, let's go down here. Let's go to our plugins, because clearly there's a setting that I missed. So full access to the. So when you're in maintenance mode, you'll have as long as you're logged in, you should have access to the blog and all your dashboard settings. But to turn it on, change that. All right, so let's try this now. So it's telling me now in the login page that maintenance mode is active, and when I navigate to, or when I reload this page, it gives me this kind of like really basic maintenance mode page. Some of them are more extensible than others. They'll let you write HTML code or upload an image that you want to show. It just depends on the plugin that you're using. So, and then if you want to view your page, you just log in, and there's an admin login page or link. Oh, what the heck? Get this little red bar telling me that it's activated. And I can view as long as I'm logged in, I can view the page as normal. So once you get to a certain point in your development, you'll want to do this. And that was a good question, because if you don't want people to see your unfinished product, you can just hide it. Anything else? Okay. So it's 2:14. I'm going to I'm going to show you another. I'm going to show you a resource actually that I've used. And this may be beyond the scope of a lot of you, but it's good to see what's available because there's usually plugins that will allow you to do these things. So I'm going to go to I'm just going to Google jQuery effects. And if you just look, people have put together like demos, and I kind of do this every once in a while to see if people come up with new ones. And there are these plugins that people make, and what do they do? Does this do anything? You know, they have little effects that can do things. But if you just search for Ajax effects or jQuery Ajax effects, you'll get, you know, even if you don't like all the things, you maybe find things that get ideas for things that you want to try. So this is nice because this is not Flash. This is, you know, would be compatible with something like the iPhone or the iPad, anything that does, or people who choose not to have Flash on their computer. So that's something that I would look at. Okay, the last thing I think I'm going to show you, and I guess before we go into this, I am thinking of sometime late next week, and we can go over this, since this is the last class that's scheduled for J-term. But I feel that people are going to have a lot of questions as they move forward with their websites. And I was thinking of having another session or two next week, and maybe one a couple weeks after that. So as people start getting into these things, you'll learn more, but you'll have more questions. And instead of having just like, of course you can always email me, but instead of having just a ton of questions over email, it'd be nice to maybe just have an open, kind of like office hours type thing where we have an hour or two, you guys can come in with your questions and we can work through some of the issues you've had or talk about more solutions, because we've only kind of scratched the surface of what we can do with WordPress. So does that sound okay with people? So I'm thinking I'll send more details out next week, but I know it's hard to accommodate everybody with schedules, so I'm going to try and have two and see if I can accommodate the most number of people. And so just keep that in mind also, so you're not like totally off on your own after this.
Can you show us how to, like a lot of websites, popular websites like yours also have a grid on the homepage?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just
Yeah.
another extra line of code that you can?
So I have these three posts. The question was, how do you make a grid? Because this wants to show as, you know, a list. So it's one after the other, one on top of the other. So I want to be able to turn this into a grid, or actually even just stack them left to right, which is what we want. That is going to be all done in CSS. So I'm going to go back to my web developer plugin. I'm going to edit the CSS. And I know each of the items that I want to stack left to right are images. They might be divs if there's something else, or I could even put the images inside their own divs. But I'm just going to do this with images to show you. So I'm going to add an image attribute or an image property. First of all, I'm going to take away the outline. Yeah, I'll do this at the top.
It doesn't matter where you put it in.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't matter.
Is that just for the style sheet?
Yes. The only orders that matter are the link orders with the pseudo classes that I showed you yesterday.
Well, can I ask quickly,
Yeah.
if there's already, like, say you already have an image
Mm-hmm.
modifier, would you just keep stacking things within it, or
Yeah.
can you, like,
You could make another one, but it's cleaner if they're all in one place, and there's no reason why you can't do that. Okay, so I have the image, and what I'm going to call is add a property called float. I'm just going to say float left. What that does is each image wants to, by nature, each div by nature wants to take up as much horizontal space as possible. And we saw this at the very first CSS tutorial, where it was taking up the entire width of the window. And that's kind of what the image wants to do. It doesn't want to share its space with anything else. But by calling float, and saying float left, or we can say float right, we're saying, okay, you're no longer conserving your own space. We want everything to kind of flow around you. So now we have this left to right, and if I change this, I don't know what happens. So I float right, it actually goes to the right margin of my wrapper. But I don't want that. And so if I were to have enough of these, if I change the width, let's make the width smaller. It doesn't like that. Well, I guess I'll just have to describe it to you. So if you add more and more posts, and then these images then hit this right margin, which is defined by my wrapper, and once they hit 1,000 pixels, then they'll wrap back to the beginning. Just like that's all I had to do for my personal website was say give it a width and say float left, and they start filling in from left to right, and then once they get to this end point, then it just starts right back at the beginning.
How do you keep the height the same?
How do I keep the heights the same? Let me go. The last thing I'm going to show you is a image resizing script, and it'll kind of answer that question. So let me go back here. Okay, so there, I've lost my styles, but are people okay with the float? Float can be tricky sometimes because it'll do some unexpected things under certain situations. But in general, that's how it works.
So what about, like, how would you drop it down from the top?
Drop.
Yeah, so if you wanted to, like, center the grid on the screen.
So you can, if you just want to say, I always want it to be 500 pixels from the top, I'm just going to say maybe, do you want the wrapper, like the whole, everything, including the sidebar to be down? Or do you just want, okay, with just the wrapper, which is going to be everything.
Maybe just not, like, what is
This is the container.
maybe just the container.
So if I want to do that, what I would do is I would say padding top 50 pixels, or 200 pixels, and that's so now let me change the color background just so it's easier to see. So you can see that the container div still takes up this entire section, but it's pushed the content through down. If I change this to margin, then the whole div moves down itself and leaves a space. So there are reasons for doing both. Okay. I'm going to close my CSS. So now our problem here was that I uploaded larger images of this, but I set it to be a constant width of 150 pixels, which is wasteful because this image is actually even though it's small, it's downloading an image that's 4 to 5 times as large. I'm gonna Google go to Google and search for Tim Thumb, no space. You can add timthumb.php, but I think Tim Thumb should get it. The very first hit is this Tim Thumb PHP script released by DarrenHoyt.com. And then the second one is project hosting on Google. And the third one is Binary Moon. So this was kind of jointly written, this script, by two guys. One guy kind of left it to the other guy to keep updating. And so we're just going to go to the Google Code page, because we could go to their blog sites or whatever, but we don't need to. Right here on the first page, it says grab the code from here. I'm going to click on that, and it just loads text. So instead of downloading the file, I'm just going to select all, copy that, and go back to my theme. This part can be a little tricky, so tell me if you need me to slow down. So I'm in my theme here, and if I go back out to this WP content folder that has the plugins, themes, uploads, etc., I'm going to add a new folder. So new folder, have it in WP content, and I'm going to call it Tim Thumb, because I want my Tim Thumb folder to live in there. And I'm going to go to TextMate, create a new document, and just paste in all that text that I just copied from that page. It's a fairly large file, but for what it is, it's actually not too big. And then, so I'm just going to save as, and I'm going to navigate to my localhost and WP admin. So here's my localhost, JTerm, WP content, Tim Thumb, and I'm going to save this as timthumb.php. So there it is. Once I've got it saved in the correct place, I can close the file. And I'm just going to make sure it's there. So in the folder I just created that says Tim Thumb, I have timthumb.php. And right next to it, I'm going to make another folder, and I'm going to call that one cache. And just leave that empty. Is everyone with me so far? Okay. So I've just added a new folder, two folders actually, one inside the other, and then copied in the Tim Thumb script. Left it there. So when I go back out, if I go to JTerm /WP content /Tim Thumb /timthumb.com or .php, and I just hit enter. I get a little chunk of text that says no image specified, query string blank, Tim Thumb version 1.19. So if you see that, everything's worked. You've loaded it correctly. Now let's look at what Tim Thumb wants. I'm going to go here to this. I'm back at the Google project page, the code page. And there's a link here to tutorials and something to read about Tim Thumb. I'm going to click on it. And I can read how it works. It'll give me some examples. Let's see. Here's some basic examples. So we see that he says that if you call timthumb.php and then you add a question mark with and then assign it a source, then it will automatically, by default, resize your image to 100 by 100. Then you can change you have all these different options like changing quality. You can change it by height, by width. You can have it crop, you can have it not crop. You can have it stretch it or not. There are a lot of different options, and it's worth just kind of looking at these things. So let me go back out. I'm going to do a test. And I'm going to need a URL for an image. So I'm going to right-click on an image that I want to test. And view image. So I see, this image here is pretty huge. It's 943 by 1280. That's okay. So I'm going to copy this URL over the top, and the last part of the URL should be .jpg. It can be any kind of image. Well, any kind of image that's a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF, I guess. And back here, where I went to my Tim Thumb and it gave me no image specified, I'm going to go to the very end of that URL. I'm going to add a question mark and then type src for source equals, and then I'm just going to paste in that big long URL for the image that I just copied. And then press enter. Is that working for people?
I don't think I had the right folder structure.
Okay. Let me get that working because it'll.
I had the Tim Thumb just in the.
Oh, you need no space there. Yep. Also, go in there, go into that folder. You need to change untitled to timthumb.php.
Question mark SVG equals.
Yeah, let me copy this whole thing and then put it in TextMate so you can see it easier. So this is a really long. This is a really long URL, and I'm going to break it down into little chunks. So we first have the location of your Tim Thumb script, which is this first one. And then added onto that is a question mark saying, okay, we're going to give it different variables. And then we add a source variable, which is the URL to the image. Is it working? It's just so you have this right here.
So it is actually resizing.
Yeah, so now when if you were to save that image, yeah, it's actually small. So you're not downloading a large image anymore.
So you're just finding it here.
So yeah, you can see in the top it says timthumb.php and then 100 by 100 pixels. The only downside is that it changes the name from whatever it is to timthumb.php, but you don't see that normally.
Did you copy
How would you push that into your code?
Oh wait.
Well, I can show you. I've kind of written it into the thing that we've already loaded in, the code that we've written in. Is it working for you yet?
No. I got the code off another page there. So
But it still should work. Let's see, go back. That should be fine. So go to your browser
and copy that URL.
and go to
Go back and
localhost. Let's
yes,
just
and
find.
just paste that at the end.
Let's just delete everything after that question mark. Let's go back at it. And then actually, get rid of the question mark.
Order right is not in line.
Okay, so you are getting it correct. So now try pasting it. You have to put a question mark after the PHP. And then SRC. Now try that.
Because mine right now, it looks like, right, this is not a link. I mean,
I'm gonna have to do one of that later. Sorry.
it's just a workaround.
Is it working for other people? Okay. So let's say this by default gives me a 100 by 100 image, and we can see that up here in the title. So if we want to change that, I'm just going to show you what it's going to look like here, and then we'll add it in a second. I'm going to add an ampersand, just say and width equals, let's just say 500. And so then I would just tack that onto the end of the URL. So I go here, I go to the end of the URL, and I just add that ampersand w equals 500. Hit enter. And there we go. So we can confirm here that this image is now 500 pixels by 678 pixels wide.
You don't have to put pixels.
No, it's just if you put pixels, something will break. Or if I wanted to make that height, you'd change the W to an H. And now we have the width is 368 pixels by 500 pixels tall. You can change things like quality. I think the default quality is 75, but just to demonstrate what it looks like. So I'm going to add another variable on the end, and I'm going to, after the 500, and say and Q equals 10. So we're going to take this quality, 10% quality. And now what we have is a much smaller image. This is going to be a really lightweight image, but it also you lose a lot of resolution. So for portfolio websites, you probably want 100%. There it is. Okay. So how do we work this into our code? I should have. Let me take a second to see here. So in theory, this should be relatively easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going back to my index.php page, and I want to change where the image is coming from. So instead of using the raw URL, the function that I wrote and placed into functions.php also produces a a URL based on Tim Thumb. So I'm going to take away this width equals 150. And I'm just going to make sure that we have a baseline for knowing what it looks like. So if I go to my JTerm site, I reload it, and I'm no longer constraining the images to be 150 wide, and so they're huge. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to change image from GUID to Tim Thumb, no space. Hit save. Cross your fingers, I haven't tested this at all. Refresh, and there I'm getting smaller images. And if I right-click and view image, I'm getting something that's 368 by 500 pixels tall. So I must have set it in. Now where is that coming from? That's kind of arbitrary, the sizing. Looks like they're all the same height, maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. So I go into your functions.php and go down to the last function, which is the make Tim Thumb image array. And here I have a few variables at the beginning, which you can change, but the only ones I would really change are your max width and max height. So right now I've set it so it will either constrain to, you define a box, in this case 500 by 500, and the image will not exceed those dimensions. So I'm just going to say my max width is 150 to make it consistent as before, and then my max height is going to be 200 pixels. So I've just changed those two values. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to go back and refresh. And there it is.
Can you go back to the
In index? Yeah. So I changed the GUID image dash angle bracket GUID to Tim Thumb. And that's just something that I wrote into it. So now when I go to view image, my image, instead of being gigantic, is now, exactly the dimensions I wanted. The maximum dimension of this one is 200 pixels, which I wrote. And it still works with our light box. So that's a pretty painless way to automatically scale those images. I might actually change this a little bit so you can, instead of having to make every image be the same size, just add a parameter. So when you call this, you can set the image size to be something arbitrary, or larger or smaller. But I'll go over that probably next time we get together in a week or so.
So I tried doing the cropping.
Yeah. ZC.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
And it didn't do anything. 'Cause, like, if you wanted to have it just be like the blown up detail or something. Of the
Yeah.
image or something, is that how you would do that?
Yes. So let me see. If I go here, I'm going to go to this. I'm just playing with the URL here, and this is where I have my Tim Thumb URL. I'm going to add the ZC, which stands for zoom crop. So ampersand ZC equals 1. If I just press OK, and even with the zoom crop, nothing happens. And that's because only one variable is set. I only have height set. So let's say if I want to make it 200 height, and then a width of 150. This should force the image to that size, but not actually stretch it. Did I miss something? A what?
The width equals.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. So there it did a little bit of cropping. Yeah, so now if I want to make it extreme, if I want a width of 10 pixels and a height of 200 pixels, you see it just cuts it off. And it automatically crops to the center. There are ways to change where it crops. You just have to read the documentation. I've never dealt with that. My strategy though has been to make separate thumbnail images that are cropped to the way I want them, rather than depend on Tim Thumb to kind of roughly crop it. But it does have that functionality. Is yours still not working?
No, I got one to work. It's just I'm missing stuff actually.
Okay. Let me save this